impression that folks can't pay with cash or that customers can't pay with cash. I didn't hear that mentioned. I think we want to encourage other forms, but I did not hear a requirement that we don't or won't be able to take cash for payment. Is that accurate?
Correct. It's not a requirement. You can take cash. Correct, Joe and Pam?
Yeah, you can take cash. It's if you're going to go down like the preferred is touchless methods, other cards, but we are not saying you cannot do cash. And as hand hygiene just needs to be practiced properly.
Okay. Frequent hand washing, and as everyone knows, you already have to have a person in charge. Typically, that's someone who's had a ServSafe certification, but someone who's really in charge, making sure that every hour you're open, we are monitoring the health of employees and enforcing our safety plans. Julia, did we get any questions ahead of time on this requirement?
So we have gotten questions about safety plans, and our team is working on a template that can be customized for each site. So I wanted to make the folks on the line aware of that.
Okay. Sam, any questions from the chat room on this requirement?
So it's not around adequate hand washing, but it is around safety and L&I. Sanitizing with approved sanitizer under normal conditions, but the CDC recommends 1,000 parts per million based. They want to ensure that if they're following the CDC guidelines, they will not get a safety violation from the Department of Labor and Industries.
Could you repeat what you're asking, please? Sorry.
Yeah, so approved sanitizer is between 100 parts per million of chlorine and 200 parts per million chlorine. And the CDC is recommending 1,000 parts per million chlorine based. And so they just want to ensure that if they're following the chlorine or the CDC's guidelines, that L&I recognizes that that is temporary and through this crisis, and that they will not be penalized, and clarification around that.
I'm going to have to get back to you. That's a big question. There's a lot of disinfectants that can be used, and this is really specific. And I don't know that requirement. I'd have to look at it, but I can get you a more in-depth answer.
Yeah, this is Joe, and I we do have to get back to you on that. But I would say that I think that the 1,000 parts per million is not specific to food establishments. It's for if you're at home and you have people isolated in home care. So we need to look into a little bit further to make sure we know where that's coming from, because that's a huge amount of chlorine that we don't normally recommend unless maybe a norovirus outbreak, and this is not that. So we'll have to get back to you on that one.
Good question from the chat room. Always love it when you stump everybody on the panel.
Well, part of it too is where they found it. I'm not sure where. We have to find out where that 1,000 parts per million recommendation is coming from. Because CDC is a big. There's a lot of websites. Yeah. I don't know if it says.
One question that has come up that I have not brought up yet, and I think it fits through here, are some HIPAA concerns. If an employer or a person in charge is requiring that an employee certify that they do not have these symptoms, will it violate any HIPAA laws, or because of this new guidance, is it allowed? I think clarification on that.
So I know that the information that we have traditionally gathered in a food establishment on employee health is HIPAA protected. So we're talking diarrhea, vomiting, jaundice, those types of things that are listed in the food code are protected. I don't know how that extends to a pandemic, and we're talking about a little bit different symptoms. I mean, sore throat with fever is in the code, but it doesn't specifically say, fever with loss of smell or loss of taste or some of the other symptoms, uncontrollable chills. Those things are not in the food code. So I don't know for sure. I'm assuming that it is because of the pandemic that we're in, as obviously a really horrific worldwide event. But I cannot tell you for sure, and that'd be something we'd have to ask some of our kind of more of our healthcare side of things at Department of Health, other than us for sure.
Sam, maybe that's something that we can move forward.
I feel pretty confident though that you can, I feel pretty confident though that that you're doing, you know, what you're doing is going to be protected, but we can look into that and get you a definitive answer outside of this.
Okay. We are at the end of all the requirements we wanted to get through. Again, as a reminder for folks, we're continuing to work with the governor's office on the customer registration and what that might look like. And that we will have a second webcast, just like a control board, because a lot of their questions are unique to that area. We're trying to get that scheduled as soon as we can.
And Anthony, I'll add, we're also working on a HR specific webinar, so that I know the questions about employee screening and sickness certainly would align with questions about employee leave options and what's available to employees. So we're also working on an HR centric webinar as well.
Great. Julia, thank you so much for that. So we have more webinars coming up to try to help you get through this, and be ready to serve. Before we lose too many more people, Pam and Joe, we can't say thank you enough. I know you don't have all the answers, and it's always stressful to go in front of 400 people and try to answer the best you can. And we really appreciate your time and your efforts to keep us all safe.
No problem. Thanks for your partnership, and thanks to all those who attended and asked some really great questions. We appreciate it.
Yeah, and I want to thank you as well. And just to let you know, so I'm actually consultation for Division of Occupational Safety and Health. And if any of you are, want us to talk to us about this, show us your safety plans. We are the ones that we don't cite you, we help you. So please feel free to reach out to me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We are going to be taking, this is